Hello and welcome to another episode here on my channel. My name is ChaosMole, and in today's Lost Ark video we are taking a deep dive at the class balance changes. This is for Destined for Destruction, which is the big destroyer patch, and this is the first time I think Amazon is actually bringing some big class balances to the West. Those balances you are seeing here came just out recently in South Korea, so this is basically hot off the press, if you want to call it that way. I think they are now a month old about that, and they brought some big changes with them. Some classes got utterly nerfed, and some others got actually buffed quite well. Keep in mind, I'm not playing all those classes. I have been talking to some YouTubers though, and some other people who have already hundreds and hundreds of hours in those classes, and they gave me basically their insights on what the heck this means. And one of the biggest changes, which might not look like much, but which we'll see quite a bit here, is attack type changed from front attack to back attack. So you will see this quite a bit, and when you see that, I would just gloss over it, because again, it will pop up like every minute or so, and it gets pretty annoying. But what you have to know about this is what Smiley tried to do here is they try to take basically everyone besides of the Gun Lancer as a class and transfer them in the back if they don't have like any specific attacks which really have to be countered from the front or something like that. But they moved everyone to the back, and they also removed those weird in-between attacks, right? Where you have front and back attacks or something on the side, and like they removed all that and made it more consequential to say that you play Gun Lancer, you attack from the front. You don't play a Gun Lancer, well, then go in the back. So they're trying to split that up a little bit and make it a little bit more understandable for players what to do, especially because not every class was a front attacker, like the Berserker, right? He had some attacks he did from the front, and then he had some attacks he did from the back, and it was always like, so wait, this attack was the front attack, this was the back, and now there are also indicators so that you actually know like what is the front, what is the back, makes it a little bit easier. But this was one of the big changes, which is not necessarily a nerf or a buff, it's more for clarity, but you will see this quite a bit in those patch notes, and I will not say it all the time when it comes up, I would just jump over it. But if you know your abilities, you're not a Gun Lancer, and normally that's a front attack. After the patch, it will be a back attack. So, now that we have said that, let's jump into the Berserker. And the first big change is the Assault Blade, which, well, has basically changed their tripod, where the piercing strike got changed to amplified damage. This is also one of the things you will see quite a bit in the class changes, that they basically now gave every class a 6% damage buff for the player and the party members for 6 seconds. Like, this is one of the things they wanted to make sure that every class has it, so that you are not just choosing like one or two classes to take with you in the group just because they have this 6% buff. So they just wanted to make sure that everyone has it. And yeah, it's not really a nerf or a buff. It's again to make it a little bit more fair for everyone in the group. And instead of ignoring target defense, enemies will now receive an increased damage from the player and party members. Again, this is what they are trying to do here with everyone who didn't already have that kind of ability. Mountain Crash counterattack effect has been added. This is also another big addition, which I think every class has now a counterattack. This was another big problem, that there were some classes out there which didn't have a counterattack really, or had counterattacks on a very long cooldown, and they were just classes so much better suited for this. And they have now made sure that at least everyone got one ability where they can counterattack with. Earthquake's duration has been increased by 1 second, enhanced tripod changed to amplified damage on hit, and well, they added that again, so they make sure that this is active, right? Hellblade, you can now use your movement skill while using Hellblade. This is a buff. Deadly Blow tripod effect has been updated. Now if your HP is 50% or below, damage will increase by 55, 63, 72, 81 and 90% of the damage. I don't know if that is a buff or nerf. It looks like a buff. I have unfortunately not really found anyone who could tell me a little bit more about Berserker. By the way, if you have something to add here, let me know in the comments. Like, don't hold back. Red Dust MP consumption reduced by 11%. That's a buff. PvP and PvE damage was reduced by 16%. Yeah, that's a nerf. Fury meter amount reduced by 16.2 damage in PvP and PvE. That is another nerf. Cooldown reduced to 24 seconds. That's a buff. This is actually something they will do with some abilities. Like, you will see this with some of the abilities where they reduce the MP consumption, where they reduce the cooldown from 30 seconds to 24 seconds, but then they're also reducing the damage. So what they're basically trying to do here is they allow you to use the ability more often, but they're reducing the damage in general, so it stays around the same. Skill effect changed. Swing the greatsword into the air and create a red energy. On hit, inflict damage and increase attack power by 24% for 6 seconds. So yeah, they changed actually how Red Dust works. Quick Prep Tripod has been changed to damage amplification, because again, you will see this quite a bit in the patch notes. What they have realized is that quick prep is always like the best choice when it comes to a tier 1 tripod. And they just said, okay, you know what? We give you the 6 seconds. Everyone gets the 6 seconds, no matter what. And we actually put something interesting there. Or at least something else, right? And that is exactly what they are doing. Again, you will see this quite often with some other classes. Flamestorm tripod damage has decreased. Now when your HP is 50% or lower, outgoing damage is increased by those numbers. There seems to be another nerf. So let me know how tough this really is on the Berserker. I couldn't find anyone who could scheme in on this. This goes also for the engravings. Berserker technique, crit damage has increased while bursting. Crit damage is now up to 70%. Mayhem, burst mode damage for Mayhem has been decreased. Outgoing damage is now 16% at maximum. Can only receive 40% of healing effects. And Atrophying Potion can now be used while in burst mode. If your HP is maxed at 25 during burst mode, you cannot use HP recovery potions. So it seems like they have nerfed Mayhem because everyone is using Mayhem, and they wanted to maybe get the people into some other skill specs. Again, not very well versed. I know it looks kind of weird when I'm starting out with a class I don't know too much about. Gunlancer. Wow, this is actually a class I know quite a bit about because it was, as of recently, my main class. Surge Cannon. Increased damage in PvE by 3.3%. Precise Barrage Tripod damage increased to up to 75% as the perfect zone area gets smaller. Increased Overcharge Tripod damage by 5%. This is a clear buff. This is actually like one of the main skills already for the Gunlancer, and I'm kind of surprised that they are buffing it even more. Maybe it was the main skill and they realized, hey, that damage is still not really great right now. So, makes sense. Charge Stinger. Increased weak point detection tripod damage to up to 50%. This makes me very happy if you are a lone knight Gunlancer, like I am. That is the red build, so to speak. This is great. Those are buffs and for our main skills. So this should give us a really, really nice damage buff. Countergun lance. Bombardement spear tripod damage increased. Okay, how much? Like, what are we talking about here? Shield bash. Weak point level 1 effect has been added as Gunlancer did not have a weak point while in combat stance. That makes sense and cool. Like, yeah. it's a buff. Or, well, it's more like a, here you get something you already should have had in the past. Paladin. Skills. PvE punish skills damage increased by 4.8%. Punishment, again, like all the attack in the back. Judgment. Sacred Execution, the duration has been increased by 150% at maximum. That's a buff, which is all in all pretty good. Also, that the Paladin is now in the back should make a lot of Paladins happier, so they don't have to stand in front of the boss all the time. Was always a little bit weird. So yeah, should be good for them. War Dancer. Stats. Esoteric skill damage calculation by specialization increased from 0.225 to 0.7. Don't really know if you noticed that too much, but hey, nice to have. PvE skill damage increased by 18% for normal skills and by 14% for awakening and esoteric skills. Wind Whispers. Oath of the Wind tripod effect changed from crit rate to MP recovery rate, so they basically buffed the War Dancer. There have been a lot of voices in the War Dancer community that the War Dancer needed a buff in PvE. In PvP, different topic, right? Completely different topic. But in PvE, we heard a lot of people saying that they just need a buff, man. They need an outright damage buff to compete with some other classes. Yep. Again, back attack, engravings. First intention damage has been increased to up to 32%, which again, nice. The War Dancer needed a buff in PvE. It's simple as that. PvE damage from all skills, except for basic attack, has increased by 24%. Again, that looks absolutely insane. It isn't. The War Dancer and Scrapper has been looking weak overall. Like, especially in South Korea, people have been saying, Scrapper, War Dancer? In my group? Can we not take a Deadeye with us or something like that? Like, seriously, they really needed buffs. Charging Blow, Ready Attack tripod changed to Furious Hit. Rough Smash tripod damage changed to up to 388% according to the number of foes hit. Sturdy Armor tripod changed to Fist of Endurance. On hit, incoming damage reduction is 7.3 at maximum per stack. Attack type changed from a front attack to a back attack. Again, we have all this. So they gave the Scrapper a little bit more of defense so that they can also be mobile. It's a bit weird. The Scrapper is in a weird place. I wouldn't be surprised that at some point they will actually do like a rework of the Scrapper. I don't know why, but it always felt like that Smilegate never really knew exactly where to go with this class, and now they are trying to buff the Scrapper. And if that doesn't really work out, then they will probably start a rework for this class at some point. Yeah. Awakening skills, Mysterious Art, Blast of Ruination effect has changed distance used to calculate damage for accuracy. What? I have absolutely no clue what they mean with this. I know this sounds weird, but I have no clue what they mean with this. Ultimate skill, Taijutsu. Stamina skill damage now increased by up to 65%, and another buff. Another buff for engravings, which makes sense. Sophist. Oh yeah, that should be interesting as a Sophist player. PvE damage from all skills except for basic attack and awakening skills has increased by 7%. Yes, of all the monk classes, so to speak, I would say the Sophist in PvE was the most balanced. So I didn't expect too much here. Trans tripod attack time has been shortened by approximately 40%. That's pretty good. That means you are faster out of it. So you take that. That's a buff. I know it sounds like, wait, but that's a nerf. No, you don't want to stay in that attack too long. You want to move around. So this is good. This is good. This is a buff. Energy Blast. PvE damage has increased by 11.7%. Concussion skill tree effect has been changed to ranged hit. Weak point detection tripod changed to tenacity, which cannot be leveled up. Ranged hit tripod changed to concussion. Ruthless tripod changed to concentration. So they completely changed the tripods and the skills for Energy Blast. Weak point detection tripod can now progress to level 5. The ferocious strike tripod no longer impacts damage and no decreases charge time by 50%, so that you're also faster out of Energy Blast. This was a big problem for the Sophist. They had some very strong attacks, which were really amazing. They never used it because they were standing still for too long. You cannot stand around for 5 seconds. Especially not in the PvE endgame. You don't have that luxury. So it makes sense that they're now trying to shift that a bit, that you have to stand less in it. Attack range has increased by approximately 40% for Merciless Pummel. Clear hit skill tripod will now increase attack range. Interesting. I wonder if they're really prepping the Sophist to become a pure range fighter. Bolting Crash. Okay, this is just back. Speciality, you can now exit Hype immediately by pressing X. Why would I want to exit Hype immediately? Like Hype is my bread and butter? It's like telling the Berserker that they can immediately go out of Berserker mode and lose all their power. But yeah, nobody does that. Probably some people will misclick and will be very angry about that soon. But again, it seems like they're really prepping up the Sophist to be a pure range fighter. And I'm okay with that. I think I'm okay with that, interestingly enough. Glavier. I mean, this was bound to be happened. Yeah, the Glavier, another class I have been maining now for over a month. Have a lot of fun with it. Had also those weird front and back attacks. Red Dragon's Horn. Determination tripod damage is now increased by up to 48%. Perfect Zone damage is now increased by 75%. Okay, that makes sense. I always felt like that the Red Dragon's Horn was like the perfect zone damage was very small on the horn. And for the extra damage you got, I was like, it never felt enough. It was always very underwhelming, so to speak. Speed of Destruction tripod effect has been changed from inflicting guaranteed crit damage to a 100% increase in crit accuracy and increasing crit damage by up to 44%. This could actually change to make some people think about getting that. Aiming distance tripod change to fatal aim. Okay. Thrust of Destruction. PvE damage increased by 13.3%. Spear tip thrust tripod change to Spear of Destruction. Weak point detection tripod swap locations in the skill tree menu with the shield tripod, which makes sense. This is another, yeah, like, this was always very weird to me. Like, if you swapped, especially the red skills, felt very underwhelming. Like, you have all those blue skills and you just think, whoa, this is amazing. Damage is great, looks great, feels great, amazing. And then you swap over to red because that's your skill maybe, right? That you have skilled that way that you swap between the stances or the spears, whatever you want to call it. And red always feels like, Oh, I'm in red mode now. Oh, thrust of destruction. Yay. It never felt good. So this is actually pretty good increase. Spiraling spear counterattack effect has been added. That's good. I am still surprised that they didn't have that right from the beginning, because it is literally your counter ability. Weird. Spear tip thrust skill tripod change to vital point strike. Okay, because they, yeah. 4-headed dragons. Spear tip thrust tripod has changed to vital point strike. The violent thrust tripod crit rate has increased by 20%. Crit damage has increased by up to 90% as it can thrust a longer period of time. Giggity. And then we have Starfall Pounce. Ground explosion tripod damage increase to 120%. Still not sure if I will use those. Maybe. At least not for damage. But Striker. Yeah, I don't think they will do much to the Striker. And they really just changed some front attacks to the back attacks. Like, as I said, it's so weird that the Striker is actually the most balanced class or subclass in that regard. Kind of interesting. Deadeye. Oh boy, here we go. Enforce execution. Remove the front attack type from the upper kick attack. Okay, that makes sense. When selecting the final light tripod and using this skill, the pushback distance has been reduced. Ooh, okay. I mean, for PvE, probably nice. For PvP, not so great. Cruel Tracker. Pushback distance after the final attack has been reduced. Again, probably not great for PvP. Clay Bombardment. The space between Clay Bombardment images and Deadeye can now have attack hits. Okay. I don't really think that would change much. Engravings, Pistolier, damage for pistol skills increase to up to 70%. Artillerist. Dear artillerists, if you are seeing this, be strong. As an artillerist myself, be strong. I know the first thing we will read here in a second will be a buff. It is not a buff. It is one of the most devastating nerfs I think I've seen in a long while, so prepare yourselves. Damage from normal skill during PvE has increased by 5%. Yay! And now we are nerfing everything else by 40%. Gatling Gun, remove the back attack effect. Flamethrower, remove the back attack effect. Gravity Explosion, remove the back attack effect. Yeah, suck that. This is already pretty bad, and the 5% more PvE damage is not helping much here. Stagger damage decreased from high to the lowest with Homing Barrage, because getting a nuke right on your face shouldn't stagger you at all. Air Raid, stagger damage increased from mid to lowest. Flame Barrage tripod now inflicts increased damage up to 40% to monsters that are challenger grade or higher. Yes, that's a buff, but still, like, that's stagger damage. I always had the feeling the artillerist didn't have like a lot of stagger abilities, or so I felt. And it's like, weird. Stagger damage increased from mid to high on the multiple rocket launcher. Flame rocket tripod now deals increased damage. I am still not quite sure how many people will use the rocket launcher after this. The problem is, as always, standing still. Right? It's always this, you don't want to stand still. So we will see how much that will really change that. Napalm Shot, front attack has been removed. Stagger increased from mid-high to the highest. I am still pretty sure that nobody will use Napalm Shot. I cannot see it. Like, Napalm Shot is so weak still. Swing, stagger increased from the lowest to high. That makes kind of sense. Forward barrage, counterattack has been added. Yeah, but still nobody will probably use that. Like the how artillerist skill will probably not change here. Awakening skill, heavy turret. HP increased by 300% for PvE, not PvP. In PvP, that thing is already a monster, it doesn't need a buff. In PvE though, it's an immobile turret, which gets a lot of beating, so makes sense that they're getting that. You can now use mobility skills in barrage mode, but when you do, barrage mode will be deactivated immediately. Yeah, makes sense. You can deactivate barrage mode even if you have the silence debuff. Neat. You can now use the following battle items in barrage mode. All of it. An extra meter will be added when you engage in firepower meter level 3, making it easier to check the buff's duration. That's neat. That will help you. Still, I think in PvE, most of the time, you are not using the barrage if you didn't stagger the enemy. So it's like, yeah. Speciality skills, bombardment, howitzer shots cooldown has been reduced from 12 to 9 seconds, and focus fire range increased by 50%, attack speed increased by approximately 16%, and attack duration has decreased by approximately 30%. Again, very important that you are getting out of that quicker. But yeah, you still have to sit down for that. So we will see how people will adapt to that. Sharpshooter. And yes, I know I overreacted a little bit to call like the artillerists get murdered. I still think all in all it has been a little bit of a nerf before we are going into the sharpshooter here. I think it has been a little bit of a nerf, especially with the back attacks which got removed, because those are your like main attacks the artillerists have been using, and they have been basically buffing things nobody will still not use. So it's a bit like, yeah. Sharpshooter, deadly slash. Well, back attack, front attack effect has been removed from Stalker, which weird that was even a thing. Atomic arrow, weak point level 1 effect has been added. Makes sense. Charged shot, weak point level 1 effect changed to level 2. Neat. Sharpshooter. Focus shot tripod has been changed from increased crit damage to increased damage. Now outgoing damage is up to 45%. Big buff. Blade Storm. The Silver Master skill tree tooltip has been changed to add Hawk meter recovery every time you use a skill after applying the Shadow Dance tripod. Is that just a tooltip change? It reads like just a tooltip change. Yeah. I thought it already did that. Snipe. Easy Prey tripod has been changed to increased crit rate. Now Easy Prey deals increased damage instead of increased crit damage, which would be nice to know how many % we are talking about here. That makes sense, because they want to, it seems like they are changing the sharpshooter more and more to be a little bit more of not burst damage, but like ongoing damage, right? Same goes for PvP. Like those are clearly some nerfs for the PvP players, because crit and burst damage is more important than having just like the same damage output all the same time, because your windows are completely different. So for PvE, this is good. For PvP, not so much. Fenrir's Messenger. Overcharging will recover the Hawk meter by 100%. If you don't complete the charge, the Hawk meter will recover by 25%. Yikes. Specialization no longer changes Hawk meter's recovery. Okay, so it's like a change. I don't really see like a buff or a nerf in here. Speciality, the Hawk meter's natural recovery has been increased by 30% for PvE. Good. It is so weird. Like in PvP, I feel like my Hawk meter is always up. In PvE, I'm like, Hawk? Hawk? Hello? Bird? What the hell? I had a bird once. So, good. Good. Engravings. Death strike damage has increased to 22, 33, and 44%. Removed Hawk meter recovery from Loyal Companion, increased attack power while Silver Hawk is summoned. Again, they basically removed this and made this a permanent thing, because without this, it felt like, as I said, it felt like the Hawk was never there. So you always needed it anyways. And yeah, it wasn't really a good feeling. So they basically just swapped it out. Death Strike was a buff. Gunslinger, Peacekeeper, attack, well, front to back. PvE damage has increased by 22% on Catastrophe. Kill confirmation tripod has been changed to Cutthroat. Bullet Rain, PvE damage has been increased by 23%. I think this is the first big PvP change. Damage has decreased by 20%. Ambush tripod damage decreased to up to 45%. Vital point shot tripod changed to an in tight spot. Flame shot tripod changed from increased crit damage to increased damage. Damage increase is now up to 95%. And engravings crit rate for time to hunt has increased by 40%. So what they are trying here is something I have been noticing as a PvP player. The Gunslinger is definitely one of the classes which you see quite a bit in the arena. And they're strong. They're very, very strong. And it seems like they have been too strong for too long, and they also were insane when it came to burst damage. So they basically said, nah, not anymore. The Bard, I have no clue about the Bard. I am so sorry. Like, zero. I cannot say anything. It seems like they changed all the tripods to node brand time, which will be increased by 1%. 1 second. Sorry, Bards. I don't know if this is good or bad. I can't say for the life. I'm so sorry. Sorceress, surprisingly, not a lot. Ice Shower, counter-attack effect has been added. Like as I said, they are trying now to give every class like some counter effect. Front to back attack. Decrease the magic enhancement effect damage to monsters by 1%. Decrease the arcane turret effects damage to monsters by 2%. Just a small thing. Nothing too crazy. Like, eh. Oh god. I have no clue about the Deathplate in Shadowhunter. You are the bane of my existence in Arena, and I'm always glad to have you with me in PvE, but I don't know anything about how the skills exactly work, even if my life depended on it. So, unfortunately, we have to do what we can here, but this is basically just me reading through it and acknowledge what is going on, but I cannot really tell you if this is good or bad. Search has been changed to increase the damage from Search skill to 100, 110, and 120%. Maximum damage output will require full stack of 20 for Search enhancement. When Death Trance is finished, refill the orb meter based on the number of Search stacks you have up to 100%. I assume so. I assume so. Shadowhunter. Yes, I know that the Shadowhunter got an enhanced change with this patch in Korea. I think it was the most controversial changes, at least in the Shadowhunter community. They felt like it was a big buff, where some others said, Should have been more. So we'll see about that. Movement distance increased by 1 meter. That's above. Counter attack effect had been added. Yeah, makes sense. Again, everyone will now have a counter attack. Quick prep tripod change to amplified damage. We talked about this before. Like they want that every class now has a 6% damage amplifier ability. And like they give them the counter attacks, right? And they also now have like mostly back attacks and stuff. Demonic Slash. Movement distance increased by 2 meters. When the skill is used slanted towards monsters, the skill will pass through them instead of colliding, which is good. I see that as a buff. Excellent mobility tripod change to amplified damage. There it goes again. Because they basically made it a basic thing, right? Excellent mobility, movement distance increased by 2 meters. They just changed that in a basic thing. Rising Claw. Attack type changed from front attack to back attack. We have that. Howl. Cooldown reduced from 30 seconds to 24 seconds. So they removed the quick prep and put the amplified damage there. And then they just made it a basic thing. Damage from PvE and PvP was decreased by nearly 16%. But the MP consumption was also reduced by 11.4%. Scream of Fury tripod changed from increasing damage to all party members with accuracy to only increasing damage from the player who applied fear. Scream of Fury, that seems to be like a PvP nerf. Scream of Fury tripod can be progressed to level 5, which, doesn't, nice I guess. But yeah, this is a change where they are basically reducing the damage, and they probably reduce the damage more than they need to be. So overall, this is a nerf, but they reduce the MP consumption and they reduce the cooldown. It's still a nerf, but it's not as hard hitting. Enemies that were hit with accuracy will now take 6% more damage. Again, they added that. It's like, you now have the 6% more damage permanently on an enemy, so to speak. Deathclaw removed the front attack type. Enemies that were hit with accuracy will now take 6% more damage. Yeah, again. they really love those 6% damage increases. But wow, that was some long patch notes. Mostly PvE. There were some PvP changes here hidden underneath it, which wasn't necessarily an immediate PvP nerf, but it was going in that direction. And yeah, lots of buffs, some nerfs here and there, and we know that this is just the beginning. There have been done some extensive changes. They're working on some extensive changes in South Korea right now. They have been talking about this. Those changes will also be basically a prelude to some enhanced classes reworks. Like, we know that they're coming, and we know that they're working on it right now. So in the next few months, this list will become even bigger. So that should be interesting. What I find a little bit unfortunate, I would have loved... No, actually, I take that back. I wanted to say that I'm a little bit disappointed that they didn't put like the Destroyer patch notes in here, because the Destroyer got an extensive rework. But then again, it doesn't really matter because most people have never played the Destroyer in its original form on other regions or in other regions. So yeah, doesn't really matter. But with that said, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it if you leave a like. If you're also new to the channel, you want to see more Lost Ark videos, I'm doing deep dives on the patch notes, and there will be quite a bit of Lost Ark videos coming up in the next few days because of the new patch coming out. Make sure you are subscribing to the channel, to get more of those videos. And again, thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time.